And I just had, like I said, the type of mother that just didn't take any foolishness. So she was like, I don't care that you're doing all of this. When you come home, you're going to take care of this baby. You're going to help clean the house. So to make a long story short, of course, that didn't last long at all. So I ended up having to drop out of school. And essentially, it took me 20 years to go back to school. Along the way, I had a second child, so by the time I decided to go back to school, I had this 15-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. And I said, I'm never going to be able to go back to school. I'm never going to be able to fulfill my dreams. But I think around the time she was 15, I said, I'm going to do this. And so I enrolled in a community college and just took a couple of classes at a time. And I think it was probably another 3 years before I enrolled into a full-time school. And I went through it. I got my bachelor's degree. And I think that gave me just the fuel I needed to keep going. So I decided after a couple of years to go back for my master's. I'm in the middle of this master's program, and the only person in my life that I have ever considered my cheerleader, which is my mother, unexpectedly dies. I was broken. I was shattered. I didn't know how God expected me to go on. It's like, why does everything have to be so hard for me? Why? But I pushed through my master's. I think about a year later, my son, who is now when he was 18, he has basically a nervous breakdown right in front of me. And I had never witnessed anything mental health issues in my life. So I had no idea what to do. So I started dealing with that. Again, my cheerleader had died. So I felt so alone, hopeless, helpless, and alone. That's how I felt. But God brought people in my life, and in his life where he was able to get better. I decided a few years after that, I had one more step because I had grown up with the intention of one day becoming Dr. Trina Francis. And everything in my life, it seemed, tried to keep me from that. And I said, I've got one more step. And there's a saying that goes, she believed she could, so she did. That's not my story, y'all. I cannot say that that's my story. My story is, I didn't think I could, but I did anyway. I took the step. I said, they're not going to accept me in this doctorate program, but I filled out the application anyway. I said, I'm not going to have the money, but I did it anyway. Every step of the way, I was like, nope, this isn't going to work, but I just kept pushing. And today, I sit before you as Dr. Trina Francis.
Wow, what a story.